Michael Brown. I want to let you know I don't go looking for a controversy. I don't go looking for the latest thing to stir up. I don't go looking for difficult, challenging waters to wade into. Instead, things come to me. And when I constantly get hit with something or see it happening or read about it or confront it with it, it gets my attention. Then I begin to look at it more carefully, and then sometimes receive a burden from the Lord to address it more deeply. Today's topic is based on a
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is, unlike Dr. Brown and some of the other people that he's mentioned in this video, I'm not anybody. I don't have even a college education. I don't have any credentials whatsoever. I'm nobody. If I'm not in Christ, I'm less than nobody. So just evaluate the things that I'm saying. I don't try to say, listen to me because I've got all this experience, or I wrote these books, or I have this show, or I have so many followers, or I've done this for so long. I noticed that Dr. Brown tends to do that a lot. Other people do as well. I'm not against Dr. Brown, but I am very much in favor of the God of truth. And I think the truth speaks for itself, and we don't have to try to prop up the truth with our pieces of paper or our pedigree. I did want to point out about this introductory statement that he makes, that he is wading into this issue and has taken up, I guess, a confrontation with Steve and Yana, Israeli News Live, without mentioning their channel directly, and anybody else who has suggested that the Noahide laws are not going to be a good thing for Christians. So he has waded into that and engaged in a confrontation with those people, and he has used language that belittles them and their ideas. And then he at the same time says that he's not going to do that. I'm not the type of person that would say he's not a Christian, as some people say, or anybody's not a Christian. That's between God and that person. And I know that Christians are wrong about many things. I know that I am probably wrong about many things, but one of the weird things about this life is that we're blind to the things that we're wrong about. Elsewise, we would probably change them. So I'm just pointing out some things that I think are wrong about the way that he is handling this and other situations, and the way that he contradicts himself when he speaks. And I'll make light of some more things there. I really wasn't interested in doing this video, but I couldn't get away from the fact that right before I was listening to this video, I was listening to Jeremiah on the audio Bible. And I was right here in Jeremiah chapter 23, just shortly before I turned the Bible off, which was probably my first mistake, and wanted to listen to some Christian type information, I guess, dialogue on YouTube. So the verses that really draw my attention are Jeremiah 23:32. Behold, I am against those who prophesy lying dreams, declares the Lord, and who tell them, and lead my people astray by their lies and their recklessness, when I did not send them or charge them. So they do not profit this people at all, declares the Lord. When one of this people, or a prophet or a priest, asks you, what is the burden of the Lord? You shall say to them, you are the burden. And I will cast you off, declares the Lord. And as for the prophet, priest, or one of the people who says the burden of the Lord, I will punish that man and his household. Thus you shall say, every one to his neighbor and every one to his brother, what has the Lord answered, or what has the Lord spoken? But the burden of the Lord you shall not mention, you shall mention no more, for the burden is every man's own word, and you pervert the words of the living God, the Lord of hosts, our God. And that's enough for our present discussion. The problem is, when someone says, I just had a burden from the Lord, as he was saying. First he said he started looking at it and digging into it, and thought it was something he might need to address, and then he might have a burden from the Lord. What that is subtly suggesting that God is on your side of this confrontation or argument, and that's what it really is. It's just an argument, and it really shouldn't go beyond that, which is a debate about the words and the meanings of the words. No mention should ever be made of whether or not the other person is a credible person. It has nothing to do with the person. It's the words. So when a person says, as in Jeremiah 23, he was telling them, stop doing that. Stop saying, oh, I've got a burden from the Lord. Because now what you're trying to do is use God in his name to trump up your case or your opinion or whatever you're about to say. Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no, because any more than this, it just tends towards evil. So there's no reason for us to have to do this kind of thing. And that's the reason. I was listening to this, and then immediately in this video, he says, this burden of the Lord, and it clicked like that. And so I started listening a little more carefully.
So there you have it. All right, no hostility, no animosity, no insult. And I don't hold you responsible for these crazy comments. I am saying that something's out there that's inspiring people to have these crazy comments. Here.
Okay, so that's how I see a lot of people talking, especially maybe politicians who want to say something without saying it or without being able to be held down to that. They can talk out of, I guess they used to call it talking out of both sides of your mouth. He said, I'm not holding no responsible for these crazy comments. Okay, so now he said that, but then he turns around and says, but there is something behind these crazy comments, which he's now suggesting that, yes, they are behind these comments. So that's how, and I noticed him do that several times throughout this video, that's one way of communicating. And I don't like that. Again, it's honesty and integrity will lead you to a better place with the Lord in every circumstance of your life. Honesty and integrity are the way to go on every issue. The more honest and the more you can be the same person all the time and mean what you say and do what you say you're going to do, the better off your life is going to be without exception. That is a rule to live by.
Are they? They go back at least to the book of Jubilees they're written about, which is at least 100 years before the time of Jesus. Some scholars think even earlier than that. So this idea...
Okay, so here in Jubilee chapter 7, verse 20, and in the 28th Jubilee Noah began to enjoin upon his sons the ordinances and commandments and all the judgments that he knew, and he accorded his sons to observe righteousness, and to cover the shame of their flesh, and to bless their Creator, and honor father and mother, and love their neighbor, and guard their souls from fornication and uncleanness and all iniquity. For owing to these three things came the flood upon the earth, namely owing to the fornication, wherein the watchers against the law of their ordinances went a-whoring after the daughters of men, and took themselves wives, all of which they chose, and they made the beginning of unclean. They're definitely, he acts like, and there are some commonalities, but he acts like that they're just stated in the book of Jubilees, and I guess he's doing that on accident, or he's thinking that nobody will look it up, and he says a lot of things that I guess he thinks people won't take the time to look up. So that's not really honesty and integrity.
And say worship of Jesus as God, or saying that there is a mediator between God and man. Would that be idolatry? In many Jewish circles, the answer is absolutely yes. That would be idolatry. And in some ultra-Orthodox circles to this day, that would be claimed. But overall, the general consensus has shifted over the centuries. And most of the proponents of the 7 Noahide laws that I've interacted with and read over the years have said, though, that Christianity is not considered idolatry. And what's interesting...
So here Dr. Brown states that there have been a lot of times and places where it has been noted and decided that the worship of Jesus is idolatry. And it's very easy to find videos, they're all over the internet, where you have Orthodox Jews who are saying exactly that in modern times. And so at least he is admitting that it's possible. The other thing is he's saying now that things are shifting and the people who are proposing Noahide law don't believe that. Now, there's two sides to this debate, and the other side, like Israeli News Live is putting forward, as are many other people, that the plan for the end times is going to involve the Sanhedrin being the new governing body of this world government, in this world one world religion. There's a lot of different theories out there about who's the Antichrist, what's the one world religion. Everybody thinks it's, everybody has their opinion, and I'm not making any claim to which is correct. But the theory that Israeli News Live is putting out is that Sanhedrin will be enforcing Noahidism on the world. Now, they also say that if you are in the Hamas or the Kabbalistic Jew, or the Chabad, I'm sorry, that it's just like we were told as Americans that jihadists operate. They're under no constraint to tell the truth whatsoever. Anything that they can do to spread Islam is justifiable. The ends justify the means. And that's the same thing that many people are saying about Chabad, particularly in Kabbalism, is that the ends justifies the means. So if Steve and Yana are correct, and these people are promoting this to Christians and Muslims, saying we can all get together on this, but their real agenda is to subjugate the world, then they would be, what else would we expect them to say? And he knows, he's always, this is one thing that I will say I do not appreciate, is that as a Christian, an evangelical Christian, he is constantly, when he mentions, even in this video here, when he mentions these rabbis, he mentions them with honor and exalts them in their name and their ministry and their dedication to their religion. I see no need to do that whatsoever. He also defends the Talmud in cites. He admits there are the passages in there, he says, that are defamatory against Christ. He doesn't point out that they say that he is in hell, burning excrement, and will always be there. They don't say that Mary is hanging by her breast in hell. He doesn't tell a lot of what they actually say. And if he did, then people would then say, why would you ever want to even read the Talmud when you have the Bible? The Bible's more than we're going to be able to absorb, obey, get to the bottom of in this life. I can't imagine trying to take on 37 additional volumes of rabbinical commentary they can change or alter at any time. Why would anybody want to add to the Word of God by taking in all that by people who say that Jesus is of the devil? So I don't understand that part. But anyway, behind all this is he leads into it in the next little segment. You can watch the whole video and see what I'm talking about. He's pointing out that these Chabadists and these Muslims and Christian leaders are getting together to promote Noahidism so that these three religions can get together on one page and say we have these morals in common and that we can spread this goodness to the world. And it really reminds me, now that I'm thinking about it, about when Jesus was talking about the rich man and Lazarus. And in hell, the rich man was saying, you got to send Lazarus to my brothers. If somebody rises from the dead, they'll believe him. Jesus said, if they're not going to believe Moses and the prophets, they're not going to believe even if someone would rise from the dead. So, and in Acts, they say, Moses has been preached for a long time, and it's gotten us nowhere. So why would we want to put a yoke on these Gentiles? Every Sabbath he's read, and it hasn't changed the world. And these 7 Noahide laws are all contained within the Ten Commandments. It's been preached all over the world. It's all over the world. Up until recently, we had the Ten Commandments on our public buildings, and that didn't change the morality of the country. It didn't change anything. Having these laws, unless you're going to enforce them in a really violent manner, it's not going to change the way people act. We have laws here in this country that are based on the Old Testament teachings and the Ten Commandments, and they haven't changed the actions of our country. And he says at one point in the video that it's only the gospel that's going to change the world, and that's the absolute truth. It's only the indwelling of the Holy Spirit of God that can enable a person to be able to live righteously before God. No amount of legislature, oppression, subjugation, nothing will do that. And the basic premise behind that justification for spreading Noahidism is, that's what I'm trying to say, it's illegitimate. It's an illegitimate justification because every country already has laws against stealing and murdering and raping, and yet all these things are going on. So why would we need another set of laws to say the exact same thing that we already have laws for that haven't changed the way that people live? It's self-refuting, self-contradicting.
That somehow these will become universal. Someone believing in some type of new world order that I don't obviously believe in. And that, let me take it a step further, and that the Sanhedrin, Jewish authorities, would now be able to carry these things out, whereas the only authority the Sanhedrin have would be within the land of Israel, particularly over Jews. But even if extended beyond that to Gentiles in the land of Israel, that's it. The idea that there would somehow be something that begins with rabbinic tradition that the whole world accepts, with all the anti-Semitism in the world, with all the rejection of Judaism in the world. Because remember, the Noahide laws are derived by rabbinic exegesis, and to follow them rightly, you're supposed to affirm that the rabbis have given you the right information here, that you didn't just come up with this intellectually, but rather through them. I don't see any scenario where that's going to happen. I don't see any scenario where the whole world will accept these Jewish rulings or give this authority to Jewish leaders. I see no scenario. If you differ with me, give me some credible information, some credible reasons why, and let's talk about it in a sane and civilized way.
Okay, let's start with the last. What he's done is, he said, he didn't say personally, but he would have to mean that, because he says, I don't see any scenario by which this can play out. And he describes the scenario. But he gives no cited source, no explanation. And then he turns around and says, now if you have a differing opinion, bring it on, but it can't just be your opinion. So that's a major concern of mine, is because he's constantly saying his opinion, which is fine. That is 100% A-okay. I'm all for free speech. Say whatever you want. But in the next breath, you can't say, but you can't share your opinion if it's just your opinion. I mean, it has to be basically somebody else's opinion. So anyway, I don't like that. I don't like the fact that right before this clip, he was saying Muslims, people are, Islam is chopping off people's heads. Well, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But he's saying that. We've got videos of some people chopping some people's heads off. We don't really know who they are or who they're working for or why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, it's not a worldwide problem at the time. But eventually, we know that there will be a worldwide problem. And that's where it kind of gets zeroed in on the rest of the things that he's saying. He said he didn't believe in this new world order. I don't know if he means that he doesn't believe that there will be a new world order, or if he just doesn't believe that, like for instance, Steve and Yana's theory of what the new world order is going to look like is correct. I don't know what he means by that. But we know that in Revelation, it tells us plainly that the whole world is going to be under the rule of one man. We know that. And there will be a worldwide system of economy and law and worship that everybody is going to have to come under this one rule, or they're not going to make it. And in the Revelation 13, John quotes from Jeremiah 15, where he says, some of y'all are going to go into captivity and some of y'all are going to die. That's just how it's going to be. And so we know that's how it's going to go. In that same chapter of Revelation 13, it describes all these things, and the fact that the Antichrist is going to make war on the church and will succeed in that. And so we have other passages that talk about beheadings. And for him to say that there's no possible way this is going to happen, he can't know that. That is his opinion, and that's fine. He's entitled to it. I'm under the opinion that they may be correct, because all the pieces kind of line up like that, because Jesus said, he's come in his Father's name, and they rejected him. He said, but if another comes in his own name, they will receive him. So Jesus told us right there that the very same people that crucified him, which he also, by the way, said crucified, or not crucified, but stoned and killed the prophets. He said, that's why all the blood from Abel to Zechariah was going to be charged against this generation. Right? Because he said, your fathers killed them, and you decorate their tombs. Therefore, you testify against yourself that it was your fathers that killed the prophets. Right? And he says, those same people that are doing those same things, and I do believe it is the things that they picked up in Babylon, and the Babylon Talmud, and all these sorceries, and all the things that Isaiah describes, where they're sitting in these tombs all night and eating and drinking unclean things and seeking these demonic encounters. So these same people are still carrying on these same traditions. They pass them down. And so Jesus is saying, you rejected me, but you're going to receive the one that comes in his own name. So we know that the Jewish leadership is going to accept this Antichrist person as their Messiah. I'll stop right here for a second and say, I'm not racist against any race. And I make a distinction in my own mind between Jewish people who are descendants of Abraham by body, and people who are Zionists, who really don't care about anything about God, but they just have their own agenda, which is to have Jerusalem as the capital of the world, and they want to restore Israel to the place where it was when Solomon was king, the biggest kingdom in the world. That's what they're looking for. That's what they've been looking for a long time. And I believe it'll probably happen. It may be short-lived, but it'll probably happen. That's just my opinion. As far as Steve and Jan's theory, it's very plausible. There's a lot of very plausible theories out there, and I wouldn't come out and say that, I guess any one of the main ones that I have heard, that there's no possible way that could happen. Why would I want to say there's no possible way that anything could happen without God told me that? And so, I'm not going to say I've got a burden from the Lord to tell you such and such and such.
Let's go beyond that. So to this moment, I say I'm 100% incredulous of the idea that the 7 Noahide laws, which are derived by rabbinic exegesis and tie in with rabbinic authority, are going to be universally enforced around the world, and that Christians under those laws would be considered idolaters and will be beheaded. Now, is there a discussion among proponents of the Noahide laws as to whether Christianity is idolatrous? Yes, that discussion continues to this day, and some say yes, and some say no. But the overwhelming consensus that I've seen over the years until now, and what I shared with the caller on Friday, is that no, Christianity is not considered idolatrous under the Noahide laws. But either way, I see no scenario where they lead the whole world, where they take over the whole world, and where the whole world is enforcing these under Jewish authority.
Okay, so he said that, yes, there is a debate, and some say it's not idolatrous, and some say it is idolatrous. And he thinks that the general consensus is that it's not. But it doesn't really matter what he thinks, because it's not in effect. If this actually were in effect, if the Noahide laws at some point in the future were being enforced on the entire world, then it would be up to the Sanhedrin to decide if worshiping Jesus as God is idolatry. So it doesn't matter what he thinks. It doesn't even matter what they say. All that matters is, eventually, whoever decides the heads are going to roll, and it's going to happen. However it happens, whatever theory turns out to be correct, eventually heads are going to roll. And the reason that they're going to roll is because one man said, roll them. And the way that happens, whether it's through a ruling of the Sanhedrin, it's really immaterial. It's going to happen, and it can easily happen this way. So there's no reason to say, oh, it's impossible, I can't ever see this happening. I know that he's smarter than that. I know he's smarter than that. He's a very intelligent person. But like I said, we're all blind to the things that we're incorrect about. So that's probably it.